as we can see, there's a lot going on in the world right now. And I really wanted to talk about some of the ways we can not only take care of ourselves during this time, but also be mindful of others as they go through their process as well. Now, the topic I wanted to talk about is forgiveness. Now, in my paid monthly membership program, Integrate, we're actually doing an entire month on this topic, and it's called Radical Forgiveness. And it's such a big topic because, we're not really taught about this in school, by our parents, by anybody really, where often people will say to us, oh, you just need to forgive and forget or let it go or things like this. But we're not really given a deeper understanding of what forgiveness is and why it matters and how we can go about it at an even deeper level. So that's what I wanted to just talk about briefly here today. With forgiveness, there's this misconception that we're meant to forgive and forget. And that's not the way I see it. There's two levels to forgiveness. The first level is that we are a human being and we are a spiritual being. Or if you will, we're a spiritual being having a human experience. And in that context, we really have a foot in two worlds. We have 1 foot in the spiritual world and we have 1 foot in the earthly world. And with that comes the responsibility of understanding the difference between spiritual forgiveness and human forgiveness. And what we don't want to do, or what's not a good idea, is to completely bypass the human forgiveness and go straight to spiritual forgiveness, which is everything is divine, all is God, there's only love, and there's nothing to forgive anyway. That's one level of forgiveness. And in a sense, it's the highest truth that there is around forgiveness. But at the same time, we're also human and we're here to have a human experience. And part of our human experience is to feel things and to really connect on an emotional level with our lives here in this world. And that's really what we're doing when we're applying forgiveness in our human lives. It's healing the emotional wounds that were created by an experience, an event, or even a relationship or a person in our lives. And for a lot of people that can look like abuse or trauma, or it can even be as simple as being bullied, or sometimes bully's not simple, but as being picked on at school or being made fun of or feeling embarrassed about something. So there's a lot of things that can happen to us in our lives that causes us to judge, and then we feel, or judge ourselves, judge others, and then we feel some pain inside. Now, that pain typically gets stored as shame or guilt or pain, shame, guilt, or pain. And the thing that we're really meant to get in contact with in our lives around this is that pain. And we're meant to free ourselves from it. We're not meant to hang on to it forever. And there's no miracle cure going to happen from outside to make it better. We need to have the courage to be able to, A, be honest about our emotions from the past and what we experienced, or what the event was, or the story that we created around that was. We need to first of all be really clear about that, and then allow that to be the door that we can access our true emotions around that experience or those moments. That's where the healing happens. And if we don't allow the healing to happen from the past, then, and forgiveness is the vehicle that we can use to do that, then what happens is we hold on to it. And typically it's held on to as resentment. And resentment is a very heavy, heavy energy to carry around inside us. And that will literally seep into your subconscious beliefs, that will seep into your relationships, that will seep into your thoughts, that will seep into every area of your life. And in a sense, it will become an energetic block to you being as happy, healthy, energized and free as you want to be. Because as long as we're hanging on to any shadow inside ourselves from the past, then our light is dim. It's dimmer than it could be. So we're here to shine. We really are. And that's why forgiveness is so important. We're really here to let the luminosity and the brilliance of our light radiate its fullness from our heart, from our mind, from our eyes, from our words, from every cell of our body, radiating the frequency of light and joy and love. That's what we're here to experience fully. But to get there, we have to let go of those things that no longer serve us. Yes, we had a moment in time where some shit happened, but do we want to hang on to that shit for our entire lives and take it with us to our grave? Or do we want to let the shit go, leave the shit where it belongs in the toilet bowl, and allow ourselves to be free from it? And forgiveness is the tool. Forgiveness is the tool. Now, that doesn't mean we forget. Not on a human level. That doesn't mean we forget. You know, if someone wronged you, then it's okay to take action on that in the human world. In other words, it's okay to take people to court. It's okay to seek justice out for wrongs that have occurred to you in this world. It's more than okay. In most cases, it's essential. Otherwise, the message you're sending out to the universe is it's okay for me to be used and abused. And we don't want that, do we? But having said that, not in every case is it going to be possible for us to get that justice, is it? Perhaps someone's passed away. Perhaps it's just not appropriate for some reason. And that too can happen. And if that's the case, then, we need to deal with it in a different way. We need to deal with it more internally than with, doing it through any external modality or course of action. So I really wanted to share that with you around the human side of forgiveness, that yes, we can't really let go of something until we've first of all acknowledged, yes, A, that this happened, and that B, we allow ourselves to feel the emotions around that fully, really feel them, really get in touch with that pain or that shame or that guilt that we've been hanging on to, and any resentment that comes with that. And then that's what we can let go of. Once we've owned that, once we've accepted that emotion, and we stop blaming the person or the event or the experience or our boss or our teacher or the bully, the moment we stop blaming, that's when the resentment ends. Then we are lighter. Then we are freer. That's the difference. So we get to either choose the path of love, which is the forgiveness, or we get to choose the path of fear, which is the hanging on to resentment and holding on tight to something that doesn't actually serve you anymore. So that's on the human level. Now, on the divine level, on the spiritual level, there actually isn't anything to forgive. And everything that happened was meant to happen. Because it did. Because it did. And some part of us, consciously or unconsciously, called that into our lives because we needed to heal and we needed to learn. And it's not just about us. It's not a one-way street. Whoever we call into our lives that triggers us, that pushes our buttons, that causes pain in our life, it's not an accident, because we're here to wake up. We're here to evolve. We're here to remember who we are. And part of that remembering is we need to go through our pain. We need to heal we've been hanging on to that's still, in a sense, encompassed by darkness. And darkness is pain. And the way out is in. We can't free ourselves from the darkness in our lives by avoiding it and by blaming or projecting blame outwardly about it. It's never going to work. All that does is continue the cycle, and we just attract more of the same into our life, because that's the vibration or the frequency that we're putting out, blame. When we put out blame, we will attract more into our lives to blame. It's that simple. That's the law of karma. the more we resent people, the more we resent anything, the virus, Black Lives Matter, the more we resent people that have got their own opinions about things, we're just putting out the frequency of resentment, and we're going to get more coming to us. We'll attract more to be resentful for. That's how karma works. So from a divine perspective, everything that happens is perfect. And that's the other message I wanted to share with you. And this may be a little hard for some of you to contemplate, and that's okay. You know, if you want to say, fuck you, Michael, that no way was that thing meant to happen to me. No way was that okay. Remember, in the human world, it's not okay. It's actually not okay. And it wasn't okay. And it wasn't fair. And justice, if it can be served, needs to be served. As I said, sometimes it can't. But in the divine world, none of this shit's happening. In the divine, in the spiritual world, none of what's going on, even this conversation I'm having with you, isn't happening in the spiritual world. Because that's the other foot that we have in the other world, our spiritual self, our soul. We're pure light, we're pure joy, we're pure love, we're pure energy. You can't hurt that. There's nothing to forgive at that level. And this is why it's so confusing for so many people on a spiritual path. It's because they hear the spiritual ideologies. And a lot of people on the spiritual path that I see then tend to use the words and the wisdom as a means to bypass their lives and make excuses for not doing the work. And the work is to feel your fucking feelings. That's a quote. Feel your fucking feelings. That's the real work of being human. We're incarnated into this planet to experience all that is human. All of it. All of it. Not just the pleasure, not just the godliness, but the humanness of our existence. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been born here. We would have been born an angel who sings and is in pure joy and delight of being and is there to serve and support others. We would have been born something different, but we chose, you chose, I chose to incarnate in a physical body to experience all that goes with that. And I tell you what, the human experience is the hardest fucking experience of all. It is. You know it. You know it. It's not rainbows and unicorns being a human. It's just not. But we're not just human. And that's the dilemma. Until we remember that we are a spiritual being. And by remember, I don't mean, oh yeah, I have a belief or I have faith that I'm spirit. No, not that. That in every single breath that you take, you are connected to the source of your being. That's what I mean by remember. You wake up knowing, you go to sleep knowing, you're in pain knowing, you're in joy knowing. Every single fiber of your being is alive with the power of love in every moment. That's what I mean by remember. And for some of us, we do practices where we tap into that source, into the universe, into God, whatever you want to call it. We do the practices, and that's like, like dipping your toe into the ocean to see if it's warm or, hot or cold. If you want to go for a swim, it's dipping your toe. And eventually, if you keep your toe in long enough, your toe acclimates to the temperature and it doesn't feel cold anymore. It's the same when we do our spiritual practices. We're, in a sense, dipping our humanness, our ego, into the ocean of love, of existence. And every time we come back from our spiritual experiences, every time we start to get lost or distracted again in our humanness, there's a part of us now inside us that's a bit more acclimated to our God self, to our God or Goddess. And over time that grows inside us, that knowing that we are one with all things grows. But please don't fake that. Please don't think that you're enlightened. If you think that you're enlightened, which you are, if you think that you're enlightened, you're not. But you are. But don't think it. Know it. We need to know that we are love, not read books about it, and, chant it and tell other people about it. No. We need to know that as an absolute truth of our being. And if that was true, then you could not possibly ever, ever, ever blame anybody for anything, because you know that there's nobody else out there but you. So this is my message to you today. Be very careful to not spiritually bypass these times of what's going on now. And it's okay if you want to pick a side to stand by or for or with in any of the things that are occurring. It's conspiracy theories, 5G, Black Lives Matter. If you choose to side with any injustice that you feel in the soul of your being that is not right, do it. Do it. And feel the feelings that come up around that. Be human. Be human. Enjoy being human, but heal. Heal. Don't get stuck in resentment or blame. It's not the white supremacists that we need to focus on and blame. It's to bring justice. You know, it's not the police brutality. It's just to bring justice to the world so that everybody can feel safe to get out of their car, to especially black people can feel safe, just as safe as every other person. But everybody needs to feel safe. But we're focusing in, for example, with Black Lives Matter, on those black lives, because they are the ones that for hundreds of years have been tormented and tortured. But it's not because of what we think. It's simply because of a collective unconscious that is in pain and needs healing. There's a wound. There's a wound. And it's in society. It's not in one person. It's in the whole of society. And so we need to heal that wound so we can take a side and help be part of bringing about justice in this world, equality. So, yeah, that was the message I wanted to give to you. Don't ever feel bad about being human, seriously. And do your best to not bypass being human. It's just not worth it. Because we chose to come here and be human. And if we miss this opportunity, if we miss the humanness of our lives and run around pretending we're more spiritual than we really are, then we're just kidding ourselves. And guess what? When we're reborn in the next lifetime, we're just going to have to go through the same shit anyway. So, yes, forgive, but don't forget. Forgive, feel your emotions, and then let them go. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the need to blame. Let go of the need to be a victim. Let it go. And then get on with your life. And if there's another person involved and they can't forgive you back, let it go. They don't have to. That's not their job. And it's not your job to make them. Some will, some won't. But understand that over and above whatever goes on in this world, we're all one. We are all connected. We all come from the same source. We're all made up of the same stuff. And there is only love. There is only love. Everything else is love cloaked. Hatred is love cloaked. Inside hatred is love. Hatred is just love judged. It's just love judged because everything is energy. Hatred is an energy, but it's a judged energy. It's still love, but it's judged. And so the intention of it and the intensity of it changes simply because it's judged. When energy is judged, the intention of it and the intensity of it changes. That is so worth remembering. It is so worth remembering. And then that's what we attract more of. So as a society, if we try and solve our problems with violence and anger, what are we putting out? It's not going to solve anything. We're just going to create more violence and anger. And doing nothing's not going to help either. So there's a middle road here, isn't there? And if we bring that middle road forth from a place of compassion and love and understanding, then true and lasting change can happen without bloodshed and without the need for, to burn things down. Well, I hope this resonated with you, and I hope you got something out of this session. And I'm going to put a poll into the group here later today, where, as I mentioned, I think it was last week, everybody decided in the poll that I ran that you wanted to do a self-love challenge or something like that, a self-love workshop. So I'm going to give you two options. Either we do a 5-day self-love program workshop, similar to the ones that I've run before, or we can do a 2-hour masterclass, self-love masterclass. So I'm going to let you decide. And I think self-love is a great thing to be working on right now, which is why I want to do this within the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I'll put the poll in. You let me know what you'd prefer, and we're going to go with the majority, as we always do. So much love to you. Have a beautiful day. Really take care of yourselves during these times. Be gentle, be kind, especially to yourself. Be understanding of others too. And keep doing your spiritual practices. It matters and it makes a difference.